Okay, pre-calculus class. I am going to do 9 and 10 with you that we didn't get to yesterday. And these were ones that were on your homework, that Simplifying Identities worksheet. By the way, number 8 was difficult because had to verify both sides. So anyway, if you didn't get number 8, don't worry about it because that one was a little trickier. So let's do 9 and 10. We have here two fractions that need to be added together and simplified down to this cosecant of x times secant of x. So sometimes when we're working with denominators, we have to get a common denominator. So we need to bring the denominator to the top as a reciprocal word. So what in the world does that mean? Well, we need to find a common denominator here. So what's a common denominator between cosine and sine? Well, hopefully everyone said that it's going to be cosine and times sine of x. So if I want cosine and sine to be represented to be my common denominator, I'm going to have to multiply something to this cosine so I can get cosine x of sine. So what am I missing? Well, I'm missing this sine part. So if I multiply sine to the numerator and to the denominator, what happens? Well, sine x right here times cosine x is going to give me this cosine times sine. But what about this sine times sine x? Well, sine times sine x is going to give me the sine squared x. So we're going to do the same thing to the second fraction. This time it has sine, so sine's already represented here, but we're missing the cosine. So that means we have to multiply cosine to the denominator and to the numerator. So sine x times cosine x gives us this cosine x right there. So now we've got to multiply the numerators. So cosine times cosine is going to give us cosine squared x. So now we have common denominators. So at this point, we can write them as one fraction. So we have cosine of x times sine of x, and we do not need those parentheses there. I'm just going to rewrite it without them. Okay, and so what do we have in the numerator? Well, we have sine squared x plus cosine squared x. So go ahead and go look at your identities note cards, and what is cosine x plus sine x, or sine x plus cosine x? What is this? Well, I'm hoping everybody said 1. So 1 over cosine x times sine of x. Well, we're still not down to our cosecant times secant. Does anybody see what maybe we could do to get there? Well, we could split them up. So we can have 1 over cosine of x times 1 over sine of x. Well, 1 over cosine is going to give us secant x. And then 1 over sine is going to give us cosecant of x. And therefore, we have what we're looking for. So we can rewrite this as cosecant of x times secant of x. And that's what we were looking for. How many steps did it take us? Well, let's find out. Okay, so that's 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps. So it took us 6 steps. So if it took you longer, that's okay. That is perfectly fine. Okay, so now let's look at 10. So, to make this work, we're going to have to change this sign. This sign of x should really be tan of x. Okay, so change that to tan of x. All right, so at this point we only have one trig function in the denominator, so we don't need to find a common denominator. But we have two terms in the numerator, so let's split this up. So we can go tangent of x over tangent of x plus cotangent of x over tangent of x. Okay, so what happens to these tangents? They cancel, and so we're left with 1 plus cotangent of x over tangent of x. Okay, so we split right there. So now we're still not down to cosecant of x. So we're going to have to think about this as like maybe rewriting this cotangent of x. And we haven't rewritten this in this way before. But think, how can we split this up even more? Well, could we write it like this? Cotangent of x times 1 over tangent of x. So we're splitting them up because if we would multiply them together, we would get, so it's kind of undoing this multiplication. So we're now going to use our reciprocal identity, because how could we rewrite 1 over tangent of x? So we have 1 plus, because we really don't want to deal with fractions if we don't have to, cotangent of x times, well, 1 over tangent of x, the reciprocal of that is cotangent of x. So now we have cotangent of x times cotangent of x, so that's going to give us cotangent squared x. Now we're getting somewhere. This one was kind of rough. So now what is that trig identity? The Pythagorean theorem identity. What is that? Look on your note card. And hopefully you would say secant squared x. And is that what we're getting down to, what we tried to get down to? Yep. And it said that we were going to take 6 steps to do it. Well, let's see. It took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I posted a worksheet online that you need to be working on this class period. We will go over it on Monday when I see you. Use your time wisely. Have a great weekend.